So we're going to have to go back a little bit, but that's okay. Welcome, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So the funny thing was, I thought that I was live over here too, and I was only talking over here to my IG audience. So welcome in. Brief introduction, Instagram. Y'all gonna hear the whole thing again, so just get ready. Welcome to 2025. We are back again with our series of weekly lives. My name is Kirsten Allen, and I am a strategist who works with entrepreneurs to help them get contracts. But as I was explaining over to my IG folks, in the new year, you're going to see a blend to the work that I also do in corporations, a part of my certified coaching experience that I have not yet brought into this world is going to start to blend. So you're going to see me speaking more on leadership and fulfillment and resilience, and why the path to corporate contracts for entrepreneurs is the way of utilizing what you have to ultimately get to the fulfillment and the freedom that you wish to have in your life. That's the same way that folks inside of organizations who hire me get transformed, showing them the skill sets that they already have, the determination, the passion, the fuel that they have, and how they can bring that to their work in order to unlock innovation, achieve efficiency, productivity, all these different things that corporations thrive on. So again, we're going to be blending those two. You're still going to get the strategies about corporate contracts, but it's broader than that. It's a step in the right direction towards freedom, fulfillment, and ultimately the things that matter in life. So bridging those two. And you'll see me speaking more about that as we continue these topics this year. So what I was about to get into when I realized I wasn't live over here is a quick commercial before we get into today's topic. And I was sharing that I'm very excited and proud to have birthed my first book. So I'm a published author. And as I mentioned, it's not about that. It's about what the contents mean to those who are going to get their hands on it. There have been several orders, dozens of orders, matter of fact, that have went out already. And I love getting the screenshots, the videos. So if you already have a copy of my book, please share those with me, because I wrote it and I love it. I was like, this is gold, all the things, but seeing you guys take action, highlighting, getting excited about what's written, it just puts an extra cherry on top. So share those things with me if you are someone who's purchased the book. And if you have not heard about it, the book is Get Corporate Clients Now, and it is available on Amazon right now. Super excited about it. But essentially, this book is my end-to-end framework on how to simply get corporate contracts in your business. And I say simply because there are so many different ways to do so many different things, right? However, what I blended together was my experience working for Fortune 500 corporations, as well as what it took coaching other entrepreneurs to do the same, into what matters most. Because there's a lot of fluff, there's a lot of things that you could be focused on, but I wanted to give you something that was very succinct, and Get Corporate Clients Now is that. So if you haven't already got your copy, I posted the link recently in my stories today. I will also make sure it's available to you in the comments on this particular video so that you can be a part of the movement and get these corporate clients. We talk about, how to really translate your expertise here. We talk about where to find leads. I go through the end-to-end sales process, literally the things that I've been teaching clients and I've been showing them right here. So if you are a person that's like, hey, I would love to get your support, I would love to pick your brain, all the things, not at a place to, maybe it's not a focus or something that you're prioritizing budget-wise, this is going to be the goal to get you the contracts that you need. So I would definitely recommend that you grab your copy, not just because I'm the author, but because I know the lives that it's going to change. And so check that out. It's on Amazon. I will provide the link for you. All right. Now, you are here. Let's get into the topic. So 2025 is obviously going to be an amazing year. We are claiming all things amazing. And actually, today in my prayer time, I was really thinking and praying on everyone who's connected to me, whether you are a one-on-one client, VIP client, or just someone watching these videos. I want 2025 to be a year where you are achieving your corporate contract goals. I actually just spoke with someone recently and was giving them some advice on this, on how to really tap into it, because opportunities are everywhere. This year is no different. So as you go into 2025, a couple of things that you want to keep in mind if this is your year to get corporate contracts. Number one, you need to be very clear on what it is that your services, your expertise does for corporations. None of this kind of playing, oh, it could be this, oh, it could be that. What is the specific thing that organizations should hire you for? And if you have multiple things, I need you to go ahead and start with one. What is the one thing? Organizations are, as I always talk about, and still going to be a priority moving into the new year, which we're already in, is around helping establishing ways to empower team members to not only just do the work, but be productive, be more efficient, be more innovative in the solutions that they're providing. So especially for those of us who do personal work, as I mentioned, me being a certified coach, or, other people who have skill sets that really help the human being that is working in corporations. Focus on how your solutions remove roadblocks for them. That is like one of the key things that corporations are looking for, but also that you want to really play up on how your unique solution matches to that. So start to think about, brainstorm. If you got the book, there's a whole section in there where you can start to dive into that and look at ways to translate that. But that is going to be key. You need to be getting out here with a very succinct message on what you do, how it impacts organizations. And if you leave it to them to figure it out, as I say, they will not figure it out. Be very clear and specific. The next thing is outreach, 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 outreach. So I know that there are so many different opinions on this, but again, you are listening or learning from someone who has worked for large Fortune 500 companies, literally bringing in millions of dollars a day, a quarter. Like these are proven, tried strategies that these companies use. So if it works for them, trust me, a little bit, even a sprinkling of 1% of that is definitely going to make a change for you and your business. You've got to make contacts. I was speaking with, as I mentioned, a person a moment ago before I got on this live. And, she was telling me all the things. I'm going to get on podcasts. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I'm like, those things are great. But, and I have to remind myself of this as well, because sometimes as a creative, we want to figure out what can we do next? What can we put together next in order to move the needle or hack the system or whatever? Not necessarily hack the system, but, speed it up. And the answer is do what you know. Do what works. Keep it simple. Simplicity makes the needle move at a steady rate, right? We're always looking for what can help us get there faster, when we just really need to focus on the steady rate, and we wouldn't have to get into a place where we're looking for a quick win. Okay. So outreach is going to be that role. You're going to have to make connections this year. This means that you need to figure out what companies you're working with, and who are those decision makers that are going to be bringing you in, or potentially considering to bring you in order to serve their organization. You got to make the contacts. We've got to get out of, I'm bothering them, people don't like, all of these thoughts or stories or assumptions that you have. You want to leave them at the door in 2025. You got to make the contacts if you want the deals, period. And referrals and all of those things are great. Actually, in our challenge that we're doing today, we're doing a 21-day challenge in my community. And we also have some guests in there. And yesterday actually was leveraging your network and your communities. That is great. But again, we don't want to wait around for those opportunities. You've got to be doing the groundwork and making sure you're hitting those contacts. So at minimum, and this is really, really minimum, you should be hitting at least 10 contacts a week, and really ramping it up even more as much as you when you think about your goals and how many contracts you're looking to land and all of your capacity, you should be wanting to stack up on those outreaches. It should be very simple. Asking people for a meeting, asking people to, if they would be willing to jump on a call with you to discuss more about their goals, to discuss more about their priorities, to see more about their marketing strategies, whatever it is that you do, focus in on that. All that other stuff, marketing, this, that, LinkedIn, even, do it, but it should not be your primary activity for the beginning of 2025. Right now, folks are back in office. If your universities are your targets, they're coming back in, ready up, getting geared up for second semester. This is the time to start doing outreach. So if you don't have a list of people that you are connecting with, decision makers, I also have to make sure I underline that, because oftentimes we will go and reach out to other entrepreneurs or to people who have literally no decision-making power over the work that we do. We don't want to do that. If we're going to spend our time, we need to make sure it's wise and that we're doing it effectively. So identifying the companies, identifying your decision makers, and then your request is not a pitch. Your first message out to a potential decision maker is not a pitch. It is an invitation to a discussion. You're not pitching anything if you have no idea what their priorities are, what their goals are, and how you can support them. There is a 3-step process that I have before you even get to pitching that is covered inside of the book, but I'll give you a hint to it. I'll give you an overview of it here since you're here with us live. I want to make sure you understand how to do this, whether you decide to move forward and be a part of the community, get the book or not. All right. So you want to ensure that you understand, number one, what is the need? We're not pitching anything if there is not a need. Is there something that you can actually help them achieve? What are their goals? Companies don't just wake up and decide, what am I going to do today? They have plans that were solidified quarters, years ago. And so there is a plan. How can you lock in to what that plan is? And from there, understand what are the gaps? What are the opportunities? As I mentioned before in another live, I'm leaning out of saying challenges because that is language that you and I use. But typically when you approach corporations, you want to speak in terms of what are your opportunities? What are your gaps? Where are you looking to continue to further your existing efforts? That presents opportunities to find out what solutions you could co-create together in order to help them succeed. So the need. The second thing is going to be timeline. It's no need to, again, pitch or put together a proposal, all these different things before we get a clear idea on when we are looking to move forward in this. Is this something already on the books and planned that you are just going to be a part of? Is this something that they're considering and needs to run up the chain? There are so many different ways contracts can be finalized that you want to understand, and obviously what the delivery could look like. So you want to be very clear on what that timeline is before you decide to move forward. Last thing is going to be budget. And this is another conversation that I had recently with someone who got a response that the budget was much lower than they expected after, they submitted their information and proposal. That generally should not happen. However, obviously it does when you don't have a set process in place or when you don't follow that process, because sometimes that happens too. But the last piece is understanding what is the budget up front. Our first conversation, if we are speaking about something where we've identified a need, there's a timeline in place, there should also be a budget attached to it. So let's get in front of that question. Let's ask it. And I'll give you an example. And I understand at times this can be uncomfortable. So I don't want to speak on it like it's just all rainbows and roses. And yes, just ask what the budget is. There is sometimes some friction around that question. And so in order to be prepared for that, you want to start to think about different ways that you can extract that information from the other person on the line. So yes, straight out asking is very clear and concise. But again, sometimes people dance around that. Well, let's just see, just send us something. We're not doing all that. Let's discuss the number now so that we can be very clear before we get off this line that we are moving forward or that price at least is not going to be a hindrance to us moving forward. So other ways that you can ask the question, what did you spend on this last year? If they've done this in the past, programming or whatever you may be discussing. You can also say, hey, based on what you've shared with me, I'm thinking this is going to land between X and Y. This is why you also need to understand what your price points look like and feel confident in sharing them. Because again, if they can't give you a number, you've asked a few questions, they're really not budging on what that looks like. Well, here's what it's going to potentially land at. What is that a deal breaker is one of my mentors' questions, but also you can ask, one of my questions would be, here's what it's going to look like. Does that work for you? Is that something that you'll be able to move through? Is this in alignment? Again, they said, they don't have a budget or whatever the case may be. They do. Is that in alignment with your budget? That will help you be able to determine how to move forward. And again, bringing in what I talked about, the personal development piece and really understanding leadership of yourself, developing your strengths. You want to also develop your ability to ask the questions in order to get the solutions you need. You want to develop the ability to do those outreaches, even if it's uncomfortable, even if you're not a salesperson or whatever, you never learned it. You want to break out of those barriers. I think one of the main things that I find with folks that want to get in this space is that they're too afraid to do what it takes. They're looking to hide behind certain things. They're afraid to do outreach. They don't want to bother people. And I'm like, you got it. You're not bothering them. If anything, these people are ready to do business, right? So I know on the other side, consumer side, it can seem bothersome to cold DM or whatever the case may be with people. But in corporate, that's my jam because people are ready to do business. So they don't mind you reaching out to them with something of value, with something that you've actually thought out that makes sense for them. So that type of stuff does not bother me, but I understand that that can be apprehensive for other people, especially if you feel intimidated, like this is this big corporation and I'm little me. That's not the case. It's person to person. It's eye to eye. So as you are looking to pursue contracts in 2025, keep these things in mind. Understand what is it that you bring to the table. Why should corporations hire you? What is your secret sauce? How do you benefit the organization? 2, understanding how to move people through the steps, knowing the right questions to ask, knowing to how to approach them in a way to open them up to conversation. Companies love collaboration. They love to feel like they're getting something customized. So no wonder why, if you put a pitch on them that has no bearing on a conversation to figure out what is actually needed, that's why you're not getting responses. And so I've heard a few people saying, they're doing these pitching things or doing mass pitching and it hasn't gotten them much fruit. That is why. You get more fruit when you open the door to a conversation and figure out what the needs are and develop based upon that than you will ever get sending 100,000 cold pitches hoping that one lands. It all works. But if you want to be efficient, if you're running this process with yourself or using a team member to do it for you, you need to make sure you're making quality outreaches, and conversations is always going to trump cold pitching and cold positioning of yourself or sharing, hey, here's what I do. Here's my capability statement. Here's where you can find me, And people are like, I don't even know who you are. And half the stuff you're talking about don't even apply to me. So click, delete, move on, spam. You don't want to be that in 2025. All right. So that is it for today. Short, sweet, to the point. I hope that this was enjoyable for you all. Please drop a comment sharing your takeaways. I would love to be able to continue the conversation with you guys. And again, we are back. So we will be back here next Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern for another topic. I will also post in the comments the link to Get Corporate Clients Now, which I advise everyone to grab a copy of if 2025 is the year for corporate contracts in your company. All right, you all. Talk to you next week and have a great rest of your day.